Jared here, and right, instead of doing a top 10 movies of the year, or top 10 best movies of the year, or top 10 worst movies of the year, because I didn't see enough new movies, what I would say are enough new movies to do a list for one this year. For other one this year. So what I've decided to do is a best movie, worst movie, where I just tell you what I think is the worst movie I saw this year and what is the best movie I saw this year. And I'm going to start off with worst movie because that's going to be quicker for me to get through. And I'll explain why when I get to best movie. My worst movie of the year, hands down, Tom and Jerry. If you see any copies of that at the video store, burn it. That film was directed by Tim Story, who I know for directing two Fantastic Four movies. Yep. Yeah, they got the guy who fucked up Fantastic Four twice to direct another. Well, that's Tom and Jerry is a modestly budgeted movie, only at $75 million. But then again, when that movie ended, I was like, you spent $75 million on Tom and Jerry, and this is what you shit out? Now, I did not see that movie in theaters. I watched it on HBO Max, and even I wanted to rip my TV off the wall and toss it out the fucking window. That is how atrocious Tom and Jerry is. The human characters, there are human characters. It's a live action animation hybrid, like Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Oh, and like Smurfs. It takes place in New York City. Why are you doing something that another piece of shit movie did? Why? Also, all the humans in Tom and Jerry are fucking idiots. The only one that I thought had any brains for any amount of time was the one played by Michael Pena. But then by the end of the movie, I was like, no, you're a fucking idiot. Because what happens is Chloe Grace Moretz, she lies her way into getting a job that she's clearly not qualified for. They find out that the mouse, Jerry, ends up in the hotel that she gets her job at. And so instead of hiring an exterminator, she gets a cat. Just get a damn exterminator. It's gonna work a whole lot better. The only good thing about Tom and Jerry that's good that I could say about that movie is the animation is good and people got to pay their bills. I'm glad people got paid. I'm glad. That's actually making me glad that the movie was made. People got to pay their bills. You got to put food on the table. Get their kids Christmas presents. But in other words, that $75 million could have been spent on a much better movie. Yeah, Tom and Jerry, that gets a fucking F. Now, best movie, I got it. I feel like I may have to give it a tie. I'm so indecisive if I want it to be a tie. Because one of the films that if it's a tie, one of the films that is in the tie I just walked out of, and that is West Side Story, the new film from the man Steven Spielberg, my absolute favorite director. He was like the first director I was able to that I knew by name. It's a remake of that famous 60s musical. I believe it's a 60s musical. I'll admit I've never seen the original. This one, oh my gosh. It's the story of these two rival gangs, the Jets and the Sharks. And one of the Jets, Antonio, ends up falling in love with this girl named Maria, whose brother is a shark. And it's got this like whole Romeo and Juliet thing going on. And it's Spielberg just does such a beautiful job at telling the story. As soon as the movie started, I was just glued from the first frame all the way to the end. During the whole movie, I just thought to myself, this may be the best movie I have seen this year. I'm not even going. Yeah. The movie that I'm putting it in a tie for, I also fucking love. I was also think when I walked out of the next movie that I'm going to talk about, I was like, I may have just seen the winner for Best Picture of the year. And to get that feeling, I just ended up with that feeling again with West Side Story. Now, I'm not going to be surprised at all if Spielberg gets another Best Director nomination, and he fucking deserves it. He absolutely deserves it. His directing in this film killed it. He absolutely nailed it on the head. Now, Ansel Elgort, I know there's been allegations against him. I'm not talking about it. I'm not talking about that. If you want any of that, go to TMZ. Go to those idiots. Because I'm just here to talk about the movie, and he is really good in this movie. Besides that actress who plays Maria, I can't remember her name right now. I cannot. I also, as I was walking out of the theater, I ran into one of the guys who actually played one of the sharks. And I just could not stop. I couldn't stop gloating on about this movie. It's brilliant. You have to see this movie. You have to. I mean, I think it should be required for everybody to see West Side Story. I'm even going to want to watch the original now. I want to watch it, and I know that as of this recording, it's coming on TV tomorrow. I'm going to give West Side Story an A+. Know what I'm also giving an A+? In the Heights. Now, In the Heights was I think both West Side Story and In the Heights were delayed by the pandemic, and I feel so bad for those who worked on In the Heights that it did not do well at the box office, because it's a fucking good movie too. It is so good. That film is about this block in New York City. All three films that I'm talking about in this video take place in New York City. I'm just gonna zip this up because it's starting getting colder out here. And what was I gonna say? Oh, there's this this is oncoming blackout. The characters don't know that there's a blackout about to happen. It's just really at its heart. It feels like it's about life for the people who live in Washington Heights. Is that our main character, Usnavi, he wants to go back to his native country, Puerto Rico, while he is in love with this girl named Vanessa, who is wanting to run her own business. Also, he has a friend named Benny who is working for one of Usnavi's regular customers, and Benny is in love with his boss's daughter Nina, who has just recently returned home from college. And it's the whole movie explores all these issues, like having an American dream, why you should have some sort of dream, and Usnavi's is, of course, his dream is to go back to Puerto Rico, buy and reopen the bar that his parents owned. But he also wants his cousin, Sonny, to also have these opportunities. He just wants to make sure that his cousin, Sonny, is okay. And also, it's a musical, and the music is brilliant. I even bought the soundtrack to it. It's brilliant. It's Lin-Manuel Miranda. Oh my gosh. All in all, In the Heights also gets an A+. So quickly summarize this video, but Tom and Jerry is my worst movie of the year, while it's a tie for best movie of the year between West Side Story and In the Heights.